181 people tried to escape from here, and 1 in 5 of them eventually made it to freedom. Had some expert escapees here. Many were sent here for trying to escape their previous settlement. Now, one expert escapee, his name was James Goodwin. I like to tell his story because he escaped from up the Gordon River where you're going next. You see, he was up there cutting down yew and pine trees at a work camp with many of the convicts. But he was the only convict smart enough to set aside a log secretly for his own personal use so he could start carving it out into a canoe for his escape. So he spent a few weeks working on this log. You see, yew and pine floats very well. And then when it was ready, him and a mate jumped into it and paddled up the Gordon River as far as they could. They escaped the authorities. That was the first step. And there was a second step, which meant they had to cross what we can see on our left, the Central Highlands of Tasmania. All right, that's the beginning of them anyway. So the interesting thing about those mountains was when Goodwin and his mate went in there 200 years ago, they hadn't yet been mapped or explored by any European. Right, so they went in there totally blind. Took them 6 weeks to get to the other side, and I'm quite amazed they did survive. They had to cross snowy mountain peaks around Frenchman's Cap, button grass plains, mountains, valleys, everything you can imagine. Miraculously, they emerged alive on the other side. Decided to go their separate ways. Goodwin thought he'll go towards Hobart. He went there, and guess what? He was immediately recognised and recaptured by the authorities after all his struggles. Yes, exactly. Now, he should have been returned here, lashed 100 times and put in leg irons for 6 months for trying to escape. But not Goodwin. You see, he took a pencil and paper with him, like many other convicts did. Kept notes of his travels. He essentially surveyed the area around him so he didn't get lost. When the authorities discovered these notes, they found them to be so well kept and so comprehensive that rather than waste his talents here on Sarah Island, they saw an opportunity. They sent him to the Surveyor General's office in Hobart and put him to work mapping those Central Highlands that he just escaped through. We can still thank him for some of those maps today. He did actually keep that job for a few years after he served his sentence even. He was, after all, a surveyor back in England when he was first convicted of forgery. Now, Goodwin made a nice little map of an escape route through those mountains, and funnily enough, the convicts here learnt about that map. Others escaped up and down the coast. Convicts learnt about those routes too. So escapes continued in quite a healthy fashion for a few more years, until a second puzzle emerges. In 1829, despite their knowledge and despite opportunities, escape attempts from this island dropped to 0. So for some reason in 1829, convicts stopped trying to escape, maybe even stopped wanting to escape. And that's puzzle number 2. Now, before we step off from this area, I'll tell you, you'll start to see some ruins around. There were 36 buildings on this island. About a third of the island was settled. Most of them were made from timber. Over the last 200 years, storms haven't been kind. Most of those timbers have been destroyed or rotted away. But what we've been left behind with are these wonderful examples of brick fireplaces and chimneys. So you'll see piles of bricks scattered around the island. Some of them are really prominent. Some of them are more subtle, like this big one under the grass. Every single brick you see on this island was handmade by convicts from Sarah Island. 2 kilometres over there, they found lots of clay. We call it Brickmakers Bay now because in 1827 they built a kiln over there and they were producing 80,000 bricks a year. More than enough for this settlement and a little bit extra to export as well. The sandstone blocks you see on the island were also quarried right here. They had to do whatever they could to be as self-sustainable as possible on this island. Supplies were extremely unreliable. So from that spot, we'll go up and I'll show you the 4 most luxurious cottages on Sarah Island, or what's left of them.